Oh, hello, and welcome to Adente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Pranks. So, this story, Pranks, is the... Hang on. The fourth installment of the WontThinkStraight saga on Reddit NoSleep.
It is kind of hard to keep track of where it is because, like, even at the bottom, they're listed, but it doesn't list the one that you're currently reading in that list. So number 4 keeps moving, you know?
Yeah, they change. Yeah, because if the one you're on isn't on the list.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the fourth installment of the I suppose the anthology of weirdness surrounding WontThinkStraight. I suppose before we get too far ahead, we should do our initial recommendations. As always, these stories can be checked out on Reddit NoSleep, and they are, of course, by WontThinkStraight. So, for initial recommendations, I'm going to recommend this one.
All right. I'm going to have a flourish here and say, Pranks. I hate it.
Wow. So is that a non-recommendation then, or?
Yeah, that's a non-recommendation.
Oh, okay. That took me for a loop there. I'll recommend this one. I'm curious though. Why? There's so negative on it.
I have a theory, but I'm gonna wait till I find out from the horse's mouth. Or the demon's mouth, as it were. So, I guess we should move on to the rest of the show and see. We should move on to the rest of the show and see why we gave those recommendations. Starting with the rundown, featuring, I guess, Nair or WontThinkStraight, WTS. Mm-hmm. So this is a new story from Nair's friend who had the aunt. With the whole doppelganger business from the last story. This time around,
when you said ant, I've been playing EDF a lot. I'm like,
aunt. Sorry,
there was no giant ants in it.
No, I'm sorry. I have to do the correct English pronunciation. From the friend who had an aunt.
Yes.
With the whole doppelganger business. This time, some friends were really real pranksters back in the day when they were younger. And it only escalated when they got out of high school and got bored and started just kind of doing more and more extreme kind of pranks. Eventually they decided to go out to a local bridge at night and see if they could hear ghosts. The bridge in question was an old railway bridge that had been converted into a walking bridge for hikers. Apparently, if you went to the middle of the bridge on a moonless night, it would feel like it was an endless bridge. You couldn't see either side because it was so dark. There's also a lot of suicides and supposed hauntings surrounding the bridge. So the gang, Brad, Jason, and Mark, all drove out there, though as they're driving out that way, and swapping ghost stories to kind of hype themselves up, they came across a hitchhiker limping along the road, which they quickly bypassed and moved on to the bridge.
As one would when you're already creeped out.
Yeah, exactly. There they don't hear anything at first on the bridge, but then Jason hears someone calling his name, and then it calls out to Brad's name as well. Mark doesn't like any of this and wants to leave, but gets overruled, and the gang goes to the other side of the bridge to investigate. They don't find the person calling out, but then Mark vanishes suddenly. 1 minute he's there, and then they turn around and they turn back, and he's gone. They can't find him anywhere, and decide to wait at their car till morning before heading into town for proper help. On the way back, they find that hitchhiker on the ground next to the road, and when they stop to check on him, it is revealed that he is Mark. Later at the hospital, Mark comes to from his exhaustion and exclaims that he got suddenly lost and alone in the woods, and this is when they crossed the bridge, and was stuck with phantom footsteps surrounding him for about 3 days before he eventually got back to the road and started walking, trying to find his way. And then he saw a car driving by, and then it passed him, and he realized it was Jason and Brad in the car. He then passed out from exhaustion and hunger, and then that's where the guys found him again the next morning. The gang split up after that, with either side blaming the other for pranking them from that night and just going too far with it. Like, neither one believed that, like, the other one wasn't pranking them about what the situation. The story then suggests that perhaps Mark got stuck in a time loop, and time itself, it seems, decided to play a prank. Finn. So that was the rundown for this story, pranks. And I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Roman Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a couple. I'll start with this one here. After the story of Aunt Mary, it reminded another of the following experience he had. So I think it should be, it reminded him of another experience my friend had.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it reminded my friend of another experience he had. For proper clarity as to, like, who's being reminded of another experience.
Yeah, I had to reread that like 4 times. Be like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, wait. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have another one here. A radical contrast to the wild, brash teenager he was many summers ago. I feel like you should probably remove the second A there. So, like, a radical contrast to the wild, brash teenager he was many summers ago. Maybe even add a comma after was, just for, like, extra flourish. Maybe.
I mean, technically, yeah, but
It's not needed, but it's like, and honestly, I mentioned that as I reread it here, because, like, it feels like it would use a comma. I'd probably put a comma there if I was writing this.
Oh, I'm talking about the many summers ago.
I don't
It
know,
almost sounds
really,
like a more like sing-songy way of saying it, but it's not technically wrong.
then it should actually be he was like the brash teenager he was many a summer ago. Because that's actually how you say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe Brad has been replaced by a doppelganger, like his aunt was, or his aunt's husband was. Because I kind of figured that Brad was the friend in this story. But
maybe, yeah. And it says which one.
I have a little bit of a bit about that in my actual thoughts. I brought this up here because the first thing that took precedence was the Grammar Inquisition, but I also didn't want to repeat.
Why wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't want to repeat the quote. So, but I'll move on to the next thing I have. They just had one rule. Too many ones, throw one away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just had one simple rule. You don't need that secondary one. The next one I have, their first few minutes pass with the sound of water lapping at the base of the bridge. Welcome to my tense talk. I feel it should be their first few minutes passed with the sound of water lapping at the base of the bridge.
Yeah.
My tense talk will continue shortly later in a few quotes. I've got a couple more things about that, but continue with the next thing I have in chronological order. Besides, I have the car keys. Sorry, I almost did like Boston. Besides, I got the khakis. I got the khakis.
Khakis. Those are my favorite types of pants.
Yeah. God, we're going to Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those bastards.
Anyway, sorry. Moving on. Besides, I have the car keys, so you're not getting anywhere. Let's go. I know it's dialogue, but shouldn't it be going, not getting? Like, you're not going anywhere instead of you're not getting anywhere?
Yeah.
Tomato.
Yeah, I maybe it is like a dialect thing. Or maybe that's how they maybe that's a phrase. Like, that's how the phrase goes wherever like this person's from. But
Well, he's basically saying, like, I want to go. He says, I have the car keys. You're not getting anywhere because I have the car keys.
yeah, I guess this is more of a nitpick then. But
Mhm.
I mean, going would make more sense, but I think it works either way. So yes, nit.
Yeah.
T-A.
Speaking of nitpicks, let's move on to my next one.
Mhm.
So we got this. So there's this sentence here. Continuing their journey along the trail, the flashlight casted looming shadows across the trees. And then a few sentences later, all right, guess it's my turn to be outvoted, Jason replied as he turned around with his torch. Hey, where's Mark? So yeah, this feels like it might be a nitpick for me, but flashlight or torch, North American or UK, pick one for your story.
I didn't even notice that.
I feel like only one version of the word for flashlight or electric torch should be used in a story, rather than like using both. But like, I'm not willing to die on this hill, but I'm definitely like lounging on the couch.
Maybe
as it were.
the kids are like, maybe this town is like on the border between North America and Europe.
That's
in
not
the
how
middle
that
of
works.
the Atlantic.
Yeah. Well, there's no. Unfortunately, the only islands in the middle of the Atlantic, as far as I know, are the Azores, and they're owned by Portugal. So,
Mhm. So we have our location.
all right. So this takes place in Portugal,
Yeah.
in the Azores.
No.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, it takes place between the US and the UK, because clearly that's where the bridge is.
A huge bridge. You can't see
Man.
either side because of how fucking huge it is.
Oh my god. Yeah,
It
that's
makes
why.
perfect
Yeah,
sense now.
exactly. Yeah. Man. God damn.
Change your recommendation right now, Mikey. It all makes sense.
Yeah, clearly. But I'll move on to the next thing I have. Without no luck in find, mark, and fast running out of options, Jason and Brad decided to head back into town to get help. Okay, I had to fix this entire fucking sentence.
Oh, how the hell I missed that?
With no luck finding Mark and running out of options fast, Jason and Brad decided to head back into town to get help.
Yes, that sounds.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just like when I read it, I was like, wow, that is not. I'm not shaming the author, because I mean typos are a very easy problem that everyone gets it caught up on.
Yeah.
Especially if they're typing fast and they're in like they're in a moment. But goddamn, that sentence.
Indeed.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have. On the drive back, they spot a figure lying on the ground besides road, the hitchhiker. Wow. So the hitchhiker was named, or the road was named the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
But no, I think it should be on the drive back, they spotted a figure lying on the ground beside the road.
Mhm.
And then my next one here. Daylight gives everyone more courage. Okay, so this one is technically not wrong the way it's done, because in the context of the sentence, it's saying like daylight gives everyone more courage, like kind of as a blanket statement for like why they decide to stop in the middle of the day to check on that homeless guy, rather than like where they bypassed him at night because it's middle of the night, it's dark and stuff.
Mm.
But my tense talk is back. Hello, I'm back on the stage.
Yeah.
So this story sort of just kind of starts lapsing from past tense to present tense about the halfway point for me, though most of it isn't too bad, or it's kind of like nebulous when it does it. So I kind of was giving it a pass for the most part, but there are a few glaring times where I was just like, that should be a different word. Like what I said earlier, where like they spot the figure lying on the ground. Like that should be spotted for like past tense rather than present tense.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to like continue. Like I was basically getting tired of like picking them off. I was like, I'm just gonna make a blanket statement and just like this needs to be looked through and fixed.
This last one, though, as you said, it kind of works the way it is.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's like originally I was going to use this quote for this bit, and then I was like, well, actually, it works because like after I read it, I was like, well, within the context, this works because it's like it's the author saying like it's like when like you're willing to do something during the day because of the light rather than do something at night because of the dark.
Yeah,
like
he's not specifically saying they are more willing to do it because it is now daytime.
Yeah, they're giving it like it's sort of again another like a blanket statement about like what we're willing to do as people.
Yep.
So, I was willing to give this one also a pass, but there's a couple of times in the story where like it does go into the present tense where it should be past tense because the story is being told to us in the future of these events. So, and then my last one here: if not for a fateful decision to stop the car, Mark might also have became another victim. I think it should be Mark might also have become another victim. But yeah, that's my grammar inquisition. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
I have one and then a conjunction junction.
All right.
Mark and Jason were his two best friends he raised hell with back then. So I feel like this would be better with a that. So
Yeah.
Mark and Jason were his two best friends that he raised hell with back then.
Yeah, like I definitely reread that that sentence twice, and I gave it a pass. But like, yeah, I think you got it right. Like it should also it also could easily just like have like that for better clarity of what's going on.
It's not worse with that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Hatch.
Oh, I
and
guess.
Now for my conjunction junction. Yeah.
Sorry.
You gonna continue?
and next stop, conjunction junction. Toot toot.
So they spent it challenging each other to dares. But Jason had one more dare in mind. So, when they spotted a lone figure ahead, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, their nervous laughter turned to sudden dread. It was a cool night, but their chills were more from the fear in their minds than the air around them. It sounded like someone was calling their names from the opposite side of the bridge they entered from. It vaguely sounded like Mark's. But that soon turned to anger and frustration as he watched it accelerate straight past him without a hint of acknowledgement. It was a prank he will not forgive them for. Finn.
Wow.
So they're out there, they hear a voice, and then they see the voice accelerate past them somehow. The voice specifically.
I mean, I could actually buy that because like the Doppler effect kind of thing. It's like it's like talking and getting louder and louder and louder as if it's like coming right at them. So
yes,
yeah.
Very different story when you read it just like that.
Yes.
And that is what happens when you list all the sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed. Gamer, do we have a grammar in yellow?
Yeah, we got a little bit left, probably. Let's see. My first one is in regards to the line break at the top, where it switches from the intro to the actual story.
Yeah.
I'll just read a little bit of it. I'm starting to think I have spooky friends. After the story of Aunt Mary, it reminded another friend of the following experience he had. I don't know if those two stories are related, but they are certainly connected by their strangeness. The names have been changed to provide some privacy, and there's a line break. Each and every day, we make 1,000 myriad decisions affecting our lives, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on with that. So, I when I read that, I don't really know how I feel about the starting of that, because like it's laid out like Nair is telling us about a story that a friend of his told him.
Yeah.
But there's a line break for the
I
transition from the intro to the actual story he's telling.
yes.
But the start of that actual story is so like dramatic and flowery. It makes it like it makes the story being told feel like someone is telling a campfire story compared to someone actually trying to convince people that weird shit is actually happening.
Yeah.
Now, that being said,
Mhm.
the dramatic part I'm talking about, I do like, and it's good, but I feel like it should be in the intro, not at the start of the story.
Yes.
I would personally rather the line break start at I've known Brad for a couple of years. Also, yes, it is Brad because it says that.
Yeah.
He is the one that brought it.
Here's the thing, because I had the same like kind of thoughts about this. This is actually my first actual thought. Is this story about Nair's friend Brad, or is this story being told to? Was this story told to Nair by his friend, and this group of friends is the guy's Brad's friends, or not Brad's friend? Like, is Brad, Jason, and Mark the friend or the friend group of the friend who told Nair this story?
Well, no,
to us, like,
because okay, it says I've known Brad for a couple of years now, and in the intro it says it reminded another of my friends the following experience that he had. So Brad had this experience, aka Brad was there. So Nair is getting this from the Brad's mouth.
Well, here's
From
the
the
thing.
horse's mouth.
Also, like, is this another friend, like, and not the same friend that had the story about Aunt Mary?
Did we get a name of that friend?
We did not. We were just given. Is it actually? I don't remember.
Well, even if
yeah.
it was, the names were changed, and he may have changed them to different names to hide them even more.
But what I'm meaning is, like, because you're saying, like, it reminded me of another friend with the following experience he had. Like, you keep saying that, like, and it's like, to me, that it sounds like you're implying that this story is by another friend, not the person who had an Aunt Mary and told that story to him.
Yeah, but that is my whole point on this note.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you're confusing me because, like,
oh, okay,
yeah, because I assumed this story that we've heard was told by the same friend who also had the Aunt Mary story, not a new friend with a new story from another, like, that wasn't connected to Aunt Mary.
But how did you assume that when it says it's not?
It's not what? I'm, like, legitimately confused. Sorry.
What are you confused about?
So, okay, so you think that this story that Nair is relaying is by another friend, not the friend who told Nair the story of Aunt Mary?
I mean, it basically says that. Yes.
After the story of Aunt Mary, it reminded another of the. Oh,
it
God.
reminded another quote unquote bracket friend. Like, it should say friend there.
I see. I miss if you're right and I'm wrong, then I misread that as, like, that this it reminded his friend, like, his previous, like, it reminded the friend who told about the Aunt Mary story about another of the following. Okay, yours makes way more sense now. Like, God damn it.
The problem is the noun isn't put in that sentence, so it's hard to see who he's actually talking about, and that's where your confusion came from. That's why I had to read that sentence like 4 times trying to get a feel for it.
That makes sense. Yes. Okay. So that's definitely, this is still a grammar thing, because, like, that sentence has caused a couple of problems for clarity.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I understand now. I was probably in the wrong or misunderstanding who's telling the story.
Yes. But regardless, my whole point on this is the line break should, in my opinion, go down to when he mentions Brad. Because having flowery stuff in the intro is fine, but I don't personally like it at the start of the actual telling of the story.
Yeah.
Because those first 2 paragraphs, he's not actually telling the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the flowery parts of the like, after that cut almost sound like it's the same person bringing up the intro. So it kind of almost doesn't fit the rest of the story.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I shall move on and repeat a part of the quote I've already said, but that's fine. Each and every day we make 1,000 myriad decisions affecting our lives. So my problem here is myriad, or myriad, however you want to pronounce that, potato, It means an unnumberable amount of things. So this says that every day we make 1,000 unnumberable decisions. Is it numberable or not? It sounds weird.
I think it's being used here as like we make like a ridiculous amount of like number of things. Like it's not being literal. It's being
basically he's saying it doesn't need the 1,000.
No.
Yeah.
It could just say 1,000 or just say myriad. Saying both is kind of redundant.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah. That one I understand.
Good. That's cut and dry. If you're confused on this next one here, I'm going to be shocked as well. This is my last one here. Okay, that can't be a coincidence, is the quote. Apparently there's no dash in coincidence, but there's a dash here. You see, a dash is what some people use to like connect things or separate things a little bit. And there's a dash in this word, but when I Googled it, there's no dash. You see.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's how the character talks. As
how do you
dialogue.
talk a dash?
It can't be a
coincidence.
It's a hyphenation. It's like coincident. He is enunciating.
Is he really?
Honestly, I think it is supposed to be like. I don't think there is actually a dash in there. Or
yeah. Well, as a word, it's not supposed to have a dash, but it is dialogue. So he could, like I say, be enunciating.
Yeah, we do get something. Or I think we got something later where like Mark is like kind of stuttering. I think as well. So yeah, or like what like
because he was scared.
Yeah, well, there's also another one I'm just seeing right now on my screen. Well, we did your lame dash ass dare, Jason.
But that is how you would describe. Because you're using lame ass as a descriptor for the dare.
Oh shit, lame ass does have a dash in the middle. Okay.
There's a line in the middle of a lame ass, just like a normal ass.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. The first thing that comes up, like in the dictionary, is lame dash ass. But now I'm also seeing like a bunch of other things, especially in like Urban Dictionary and Wiktionary, like for like slang and plural. They just refer to it as lame ass, like contracted, like a contracted word, or like a compound word. Where it's
yeah. So. Are you also going to complain about healed that the phantom voice says? Because there is no such word as healed.
Now you're just
going a little far with this.
I think we're hitting critical mass of silliness here.
I just wanted the dash out of coincidence. That's all I wanted. Yeah. You guys just kept taking. The simplest freaking grammar thing I have. And you're just been like, yep. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that.
What's funny is we both, I think, agree with you.
Do you? I don't know anymore.
We're just being really difficult because you said it's like I'd be surprised if you had a problem with this.
Yeah, I did set myself up for failure there, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right.
Fine, I'm done.
Okay.
Peace.
Yeah, the gamer just leaves, drops the mic, walks away. He just power drops Mikey. But all right, I guess we'll move on to actual thoughts now. I'm gonna start with this one here: doing the cinnamon challenge while rip roaring drunk. Okay, so upon looking this wiki article up, it's not as bad as the neurological disorder from the previous story that we did.
You didn't know what the cinnamon challenge was?
I knew what it was, but I went on the link anyway. I honestly didn't know until like an hour or two connective tissues time. After reading the story, about like 2 hours after reading the story, I then proceeded to watch Game Grumps like short on like TikTok that was Aaron doing the cinnamon challenge.
That's creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, so I read the article about I read like the first paragraph of this wiki article that's linked from Cinnamon Challenge in the story. And yeah, while it's not as bad as the neurological disorder, like as creepy as the neurological disorder, just like reading the first paragraph in the article, I'm just like, why do people do this shit?
Yeah.
Obviously, the answer is because internet trends, fame, and stupidity. But still, like some of the things that it causes, like by doing this, like you could literally develop pneumonia from doing this fucking challenge.
Yeah. Or a collapsed lung.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where I ended the article. Like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to read anymore.
But the internet views, man.
That's the problem. It's the same thing with like the Tide Pod thing.
Yeah, the Tide Pod challenge.
From like a few years back, and like that same shit where like kids were eating Tide Pods for views.
I'm sure that's safe.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a shocker.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just like this article that was linked wasn't as bad as the previous story article that was linked, but it was like still just like each day we shy far, we slip closer and closer to Nyarlathotep's sweet embrace of chaos and death.
Certainly death. A lot of people. There's a lot of dumb ways to die.
Yeah. But yeah. Mikey, do you have anything more to add to this, or should I move?
Well, yes.
Really?
So, well, it goes into the next paragraph and whatnot afterward, where they basically prank the cops and construction workers,
right,
and go to jail. And then we get this quote: "That moment should have been their wake-up call to consider what they were doing with their lives."
And I was like,
to
yeah,
which
it should have been.
My response is no. Doing the cinnamon challenge while drunk should have been
No, I mean
their consequence, because they're already drunk.
Yeah.
If something bad were to have happened, nobody can drive them anywhere because they're drunk. Like, it's just a bad situation.
It wouldn't be a wake-up call unless something bad happened during that cinnamon challenge thing, which clearly there wasn't anything bad.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
like, clearly nothing happened.
Like, this is the first time that there was consequences to their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, yes, like when it says like this should have been the wake up call, I was like, yes, this should have been their wake up call. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's why I was expecting the story to kind of go into like a prank goes too far and somebody dies. Like, that's how I was expecting the story to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they try to prank somebody on that, like, may not even be like one of them dies, but like maybe somebody on the bridge who's like thinking about suicide, they end up like accidentally like pranking. It's like doing like the save your life, but like not grabbing them in time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Like, I was expecting that kind of like creepy or like dark shit to happen on the bridge for the story, but we didn't quite get that. We got a different kind of thing, which I kind of also like, but I'll get into that later. Yeah. Sorry, Mikey, I took your that's fine. Are you good?
It's all right. You can continue.
Okay. So I'll continue with the next thing I have here. Just outside of town was a forested area where hikers would occasionally pass through. Spanning across a wide river, there was a former railway bridge that was converted for walking. Lacking any lighting, if you stood in the middle on a moonless night, both ends would be shrouded in darkness that the bridge would seem to stretch to eternity. So I'm getting some real like vibes of like Shane Madej's bridge. I mean, the Goat Man's bridge, from like actual like real life like spooky paranormal shit. Just like spooky old railway bridge in the woods is just like classic creepy setup for a horror story to go happen. So I approve of that. And the story even later on has is even later on topped off with a hitchhiker encounter as well, and a creepier one than you expect than that. So yeah, I was really liking the setup for this for their encounter that night in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But move on to the next thing I have. So this is when they start hearing the voices. It called my name, said Jason. No one knows we're here. We should check it out. And at that point, I was just like, oh, hell nah. That is some Appalachian forest creep right there. Even if this bridge isn't in those mountains, you do not fuck around with that kind of business. Just nope all the way down.
Yeah.
Like if I start hearing somebody calling my voice like in the woods when I'm hiking in the dark or at night or even like late day, I'm just like I'm turning the other way and going back to the trailhead.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. Just so you know, there is actually scientific evidence that basically when you hear background noise, like in the quiet of night,
yeah,
your mind can make you hear your own voice or your own name.
oh, I'm
and
sure.
such.
Yeah.
So it is known that you could hear your voice, your name being called in a forest with nobody around.
Yeah.
So
I'm
There's no
still
supernatural here at all. It's very mundane.
Yeah, thanks. I hate it, but also like that's also kind of creepy to me. Like I'm still going to like not be like in a good state of mind if I start hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I refute your mundanity. It's still creepy.
Just because it's mundane doesn't mean it isn't creepy.
Exactly. Like I've said many times on the show, the forest be spooky, yo. Like I love the forests, but I'm fucking terrified of them. But I'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is something kind of related to the previous thing I was quoting and such. You know, there are some ghosts that lure you into, stammered Mark. Just shut up for a moment, Mark. You're not helping, Jason interrupted. Fuck you, he ain't helping, Jason. Mark seems to be the only voice of fucking reason here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like...
Well, we need a target to be taken, and it's always the one that's smart and actually wants to get away from the creepy situation.
Yeah, there's always that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, he's right beside you, sorry.
There's no one beside me, though.
Yeah. He's right beside me, Brad spun around. Mark was not there. He was there a moment ago, I swear. Mark! Jason yelled. Are you pissing behind a tree? And at that point, I was just like, oh, Mark just got stuck in some like liminal space or a temporal thing. And he was the voice from earlier. Yeah.
You immediately got that?
Literally, as soon as Mark disappeared and like they started calling his name, it was like, Mark's the voice.
I immediately went with there's some fucking monster on this bridge that just snapped him up because he was in the back.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct was like as soon as I read like that like Mark disappearing and them looking for Mark, I was just like, oh, Mark is the voice. Like he's stuck in a time, like he got like time displaced or something.
Yeah, I imagined it was like one of those covered bridges or something, and there's just like some weird spider-like creature hanging to the ceiling that they didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like if it was like an old railway train like bridge like the one like the Goatman Bridge. It had like those high like those kind of like what are those like suspension kind of those like metal girder suspension things above it.
Yeah.
So that's why the spider thing is just like looming over them as it picked them up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or there's the other option. Troll.
No, sorry, you're not doing it. There's a little more. You need a little bit more. It's like troll.
Yeah.
For anybody who
just
hasn't
reached it from under the bridge and pulled them under.
Yeah. Like, yeah. For anybody who hasn't seen it, go watch Troll Hunter, a Norwegian found footage mockumentary kind of movie. It is amazeballs.
It really is.
Are you Christian? I'm Muslim. Does that matter? I honestly don't know. I suppose we'll find out.
I think it says, does that count?
Yeah, does that count? It's like, I honestly don't know. I guess we'll find out. Then he just walks away. And if you're confused as to what I just said, you'll get it in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figured Mark was like time displaced, and he was the voice. Mark was phone.
Technically, in this situation, yeah.
Yeah, we know who was phone in this instance.
It was Mark all along.
Yeah. But yeah, now I'll move on to the next thing I have. Approaching the body, to their surprise, it was Mark, with his clothes torn and filthy, and his face stubbled as if he hadn't shaved in days. He was unconscious and almost unrecognizable. Okay, so I'll admit, I caught the voice thing almost immediately about Mark from earlier. I did not even clue in that the hitchhiker could have been Mark as well.
Yeah.
Like that took me by surprise, but it also confirms my time displacement idea from like right off the get-go.
Sure.
Which I think the reason why it caught on to me is because I've seen so many instances of like time anomalies and like people having lost time in the woods in movies and creepypastas. Like I think I've seen like 2 or 3 found footage films that involve like time displacement when the characters go into the woods to investigate like a paranormal thing or something.
Yeah.
And
I saw like the hitchhiker was the supernatural entity that basically tagged them as its target for the night.
Yeah, which again, like that's why like I went into this thinking it was going to be like a ghost story or like they fucked with some kind of supernatural creature like the goat man himself. Like, and this is his bridge. Like I would not be surprised. For me, just personally, I would not be surprised if this story was inspired loosely off of the Goatman Bridge for the setup of it, because it's just so kind of iconic in like paranormal circles. But
most are honestly.
What?
Like if you're doing like a ritual, it has to be in like a circle, right? It always is a circle. Tell me I'm wrong.
Listen, time is a flat circle, and right now I want a fucking beer after that.
That was another circle. Wow. Circles are everywhere, guys.
Circles upon circles. A circle jerk of circles.
And there it goes.
Oh, yeah. I'm the problem, gamer.
I'm glad you finally realized.
All right, so I'll move on to the last thing I have here. In the end, maybe time itself is the prankster that's playing tricks on us all. And as a result, we as the reader won't think straight. Yeah, for some reason I read like the last part of the story, it like in the same vibe as like a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits kind of like ending. It's like it seems our characters find themselves at a crossroads. And given the fact that like Won't Think Straight has kind of made this like kind of anthology of weirdness of like weird things that he's now starting to like see and stuff like that, it kind of has that kind of Twilight Zone-y like Outer Limits vibe where like each story is another weird story that they're realizing exists in the world, and then they start like kind of waxing philosophical like either on at the beginning or the end of.
Yeah, it'd be cool if the last one signs off with that, like as like he doing his name drop as actually part of the story like he did.
Yeah,
that was pretty cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I griped like I think the last story. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the last story I griped about it being not like centered around Won't Think Straight himself or them like Nair, and having like the friend like being a story of a friend of mine kind of thing. But I don't know if it's just like because like there's been like 2 weeks or so of like distance between like that story and this one, and I've just come to accept that this is the new way the story the series of stories are going to be probably, but I liked it in this one more. So like it didn't bug me as much in this one as it did when I was first introduced to the idea that it wasn't going to just be weird shit around Nair himself. So
probably because originally you wanted it to be that, and then once it's dropped that it's not just going to be him, now you're accepting it.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring anyway.
Yeah.
But, now that I've gotten that mindset, it's like okay, this is actually really cool. I like this. And also, I did like the twist at the end here, where it wasn't actually a ghost story like we were expecting, or it wasn't gonna be like something like truly macabre. It's actually a sci-fi kind of twist at the end with like a time displacement or like some kind of an anomaly that the character looped it through. So, but yeah, that's my my actual thoughts.
Okay.
Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right. So my next actual thought here is continuing their journey along the trail. The flashlight casted looming shadows across the trees. Flashlights don't cast shadows.
Okay, look. When you're shining a light at an object, it creates
Yes.
a shadow. The object creates a
Yes.
shadow. But
Yes.
okay, yeah.
But the flashlights didn't cast the shadow on the tree. It's the trees casting shadows on the other trees.
Yes. We are both technically right, and I technically hate you.
Alright. So my next actual thought here is spanning across a wide river, there was a former railway bridge that was converted for walking. So my comment here is they don't convert bridges for walking if it's in the middle of nowhere.
I have to stop you right now. That is literally the Goatman Bridge. It's in the middle of a fucking like wild like conservation area or like a forested park.
Well, but that's a park.
Which is kind of what I figured this is. It's just a forest. It's like it's a forest with hiking trails. It's a park. It's probably a national park. They're just not saying it is.
Well,
yeah,
I'd like some clarification there.
Okay. Well, you should have been more clarifying on your clarification needs. Rather than just like full just blanketly saying it's like, all right, they don't convert rail bridge into walking trails in the middle of nowhere. It's like, well, it's not in the middle of nowhere.
But it says later that it is the middle of nowhere.
I mean,
Or at least they they comment that anyway. So
I mean, it is the middle of nowhere in that it's in the middle of like there's no like the town's like a couple of miles away. That's still that could still be a national park or like a woodland like hiking area.
and then you just brought up my next point. A town is a couple miles away. Mark can walk that. Like, why did he stay around the same area? Like, clearly there's a trail that likely goes to either a roadway or to civilization.
Well, maybe the time anomaly is just like having him loop, so it seems like the woods are like endless until he finds like the right route to get back onto the road, and then by then he's caught back up to the present day, or to the or he's caught back up, or he's been like deposited back into the current timeline, and now he's that guy, that vagrant that's walking up the side of the road, or that hitchhiker.
Yeah,
I've literally seen this movie before. Like this has happened. I've seen like 2 movies in the last in the last year that does this exact same premise.
Yeah. All right.
Mikey's done with my shit.
And then my next actual thought here is that I was enjoying the mystery and coming up with the time travel, which we all came up with, until the end, where there's a public service announcement about time playing pranks on us all.
Well, that's
like,
kind of like
it's the classic show don't tell, and they're showing and telling.
yeah, I can see, like, I saw it kind of like the narrator from the Twilight Zone, like saying like their last piece, like kind of giving the last piece, but it does also kind of come off as like, did you get it?
I would.
It straight up says Brad said this. It might as well be a quote of his.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
If it was, sorry, I'm like finish. If there was another line break, and after the line break this was said, then it's Nair saying it.
Yeah.
Yes.
As an out of story thing.
Yeah. Then it would be the Twilight Zone scenario.
Yes.
Sure. But as we have, there is no line break. So
But there probably should have been.
Yes.
Actually, if anything, like that might be a nice fix or add on to the story, as if there was a line break at the at the very end where like we get like suddenly our narrator back in for the like an outro.
Well, only if they don't want Brad to say this and think this.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. Game.
That means it's my turn. So my first note is just regarding the three kids as the Three Musketeers.
Mhm.
I really like how much they owned it.
Yeah.
Like, there's more character in these three characters already, just from mentioning their antics, than some stories have for their characters in the entire runtime.
Oh yeah. There are some stories we've done where like we've literally envisioned them as just cardboard cutouts.
Yes. That being said, visually, we got nothing on any of these guys.
No, yeah.
My notes for them are this: Jason, the leader; Mark, the warrior; Brad, he was there too.
And Brad, he was there too.
Yes, he got the participation ribbon.
Yeah, like I just kind of like added in like I mean I don't know about you guys, but like I definitely just like theater of the mind, just like a couple of like randomly generated like 80s kids or
Yeah,
like
pretty
90s
much.
kids, I guess, because like, this is kind of set in like the early 2000s or like late 90s, I think.
Yeah, a little bit would be nice, but not super necessary, honestly.
Yeah.
Because also not describing them kind of makes sense in this, because he says up front, I'm changing the names to give them privacy.
Yeah,
Him
exactly.
changing the names and then describing them perfectly.
Yeah, so like
Brad
Jason
has a scar on his right cheek.
yeah. Might as well just be saying Mark's social security number is
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all in all, I don't really care about that.
Mhm.
And my next note here is they made their way back across the bridge to the car park. Mark wasn't there either, so they waited in the car until sunrise. So they waited there for several hours because they showed up at midnight. Unless sunrise is around 1 or 2 a.m. there, they waited there way too long.
Yeah, they waited 6 hours at least.
Granted, they went out to the bridge, fucked around.
Found out.
Yeah, and found out. Sure, that probably took like maybe half an hour. I don't know how long they were waiting there. And then Mark's gone, and then they said that they spent time looking for him, which might have been 30 minutes to an hour, and then they went back and waited more. But still, if you can't find him out there, and you're waiting in the car, and he's not there, I'd be calling the cops.
Yeah.
He's missing, and you care about this guy.
But they can't call the cops because they're pranksters, and they called Wolf too many times.
Oh god,
that would be a really interesting thing to bring up, though.
Yeah,
they tried to call the cops, and they don't believe them anymore.
It's just like the Goonies bit where Chunk calls the cops about the Fratelli brothers. Yeah. And the cop is like, now hang on, Charles. Is this because is this like that other time that you called where it was about the little green monsters that you can't feed them after midnight? Like basically just like name dropping, like just like describing gremlins or like other like things that he's called in on, like because he's like sort of a compulsive liar.
Yeah, that would be good if it did that sort of thing though, because it builds more character to the world around them too.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't even take much to even do that. Like, after
also
waiting for 10 minutes around the car, we realized we should really call the cops. And then they call and they don't believe them. And fuck, I guess we'll just wait longer until sunrise.
I also think legally, there is like a grace period when someone goes missing.
Would you actually legally sit there and wait?
No. But I mean, like that's something that like the cops could also you could also throw with the cops like arguing. It's like, well, technically, are you sure he's gone missing? Like there's technically, or maybe I'm like confusing with like how long it is before they give up on a search. Like within like if they usually can't find somebody within the first like 24 hours or 48 hours, then they get they're it starts kind of like not looking good.
Yeah, that's why they say shit like the first 12 hours are the most crucial or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why you phone it in right away.
Right.
And even though there is the old thing that someone isn't missing until 24 hours have passed. Like, well, yes and no. Like,
Yeah, I feel
if
like
they
that's more
missed
for like, yeah,
it's
sorry.
more if they missed a check-in type thing. Like, oh, they're not communicating
Oh,
anymore, and I was
yeah,
supposed to be meeting with them, like, and stuff like
yeah.
that.
I think that's what I'm confusing it with is like that. Like if somebody's lost in the woods, that's more of an immediate thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
especially
Yeah.
because in this day and age that I'm assuming this takes place, um, there's no smartphones and such because like they wouldn't bother bringing a flashlight if all of them had smartphones, and they would all have their smartphone lights on.
Well, it's kind of established because they I think they graduated high school. It says in 1992.
True. Yes,
So
it does say that.
and like this is like at least a few years after that. So was it 1992 or nine? Am I?
It's in the 90s. Either way, it
It's
was
sometime in the
actually
90s. So
brought.
like bare minimum, there like this is like the early 2000s when this is happening. So
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm. And then move on to the next one,
Mhm.
where it says Jason also thinks it's a prank, but by Mark in return for being outvoted on the bridge. Mark must have spent that morning walking back to the road and apparently growing facial hair super fast. Is what I said.
Yeah.
While
Put on the
Jason
prosthetics.
while Jason and Brad were worried sick looking for him on the bridge and all that. So when I heard this, Mark's view of this being a prank is way more believable because like Jason is like, how could he just grow facial hair like super fast
So-
like that out in the wilderness?
Yes, but technically, if both of them looked at them like even like beyond the surface level, they'd come to the realization that like neither of this was a prank because first off, yes, so like there's no way he could have grown that facial hair that fast from on Jason's end, but on Mark's end, he was gone for 3 days, so he probably saw that day and night shifted for 3 days,
Yeah, he did.
and then like at the hospital and stuff like that, and then even after he would have checked like the calendar or something like that and been like and they could have confirmed it was not 3 days, it was a day or it was like a couple of hours he was gone.
Yeah, there's no like bit of him realizing that he just lost days.
Yeah,
He lost time.
Yeah, unless their minds are just shirking away from like proof because
Yeah,
they
they're
don't
too
want
busy yelling at each other.
yeah, too busy yelling. You know what's happened? They passed their sand checks, and so or they failed their sand checks, and they decided to instead of like taking the sand hit, they instead had their bond with each other take the hit, thus
Yeah.
harming their bond with each other. To quote the rules for Delta Green, where you have bonds that you can use as mental shields against sanity blasting effects.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Delta Green, you have like a set of like familial bonds, like a wife or a kid, or they specifically say no dogs or no pets.
Yeah.
And it's definitely no unless you want to go play hard mode. Don't have a bond with your fellow employee or with your fellow like agents, because if something bad happens to them, then you're hitting a bond. You're getting a bond hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's basically like it's basically like a bit of like buffer for your sanity in the game against like horror and Cthulhu monsters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And then my last note is just I like the twist reveal of the person on the road being one of them, and the voices being echoes of future events that were about to happen.
Yeah,
like it's kind of cool.
And it made me wonder, like, was the phantom footsteps he kept hearing, were those like just Jason and Brad, or were those also like just other hikers over the course of those days? That he was like, they're basically yeah, sorry.
I think it was them because the whole thing about this spooky event is them hearing their own voices and their own names being called. So I'm assuming those footsteps are also theirs as well. Footsteps that have yet to be taken, but they will be taken.
Yeah, or because this is kind of like a weird like time dial. There's also like probably some time dilation going on here too, to the point where he's stepping back in time and such. he was basically like he's moving at a different frequency or like a different like temporal frequency than they are. So yeah, hit those phantom footsteps are them searching for him in the woods that are just like reverberating across time.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my notes.
Okay. Well then, on to final thoughts. Yeah, so I'm still going to recommend this. I think that there are some tense issues and some minor grammar hiccups that can be fixed. But otherwise, this was a very fun, creepy little story that made me think it was going to be one way with like a ghost story kind of thing, or like the whole like haunted bridge. And it took the haunted bridge concept and gave it like a cool and creepy sci-fi twist. Like it used some very familial spooky ghost story kind of tropes and ideas, and went slightly different with it. And I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm going to recommend this one. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
All right. Well, I would have liked more detail on the cinnamon challenge, on how they survived it. Let's see. I would have liked more detail on this being a park or something where the bridge is located. And then I liked the time twist because I could see it coming, but I hated how it just, well, yeah, here's the time twist theory that everyone comes up with. So the end result is annoying to me.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that it gets, revealed way too soon.
It's the fact that it gets revealed at all. It's like the story took your thunder.
Yeah.
Or it was the same thing of like we all got it. Like we didn't need to say, nobody said anything, but we all got it. And then like the story was just like, you get it? Time. It was a time displacement.
Yeah.
Time's a prankster.
Yeah.
Walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see your point to that. It's like yeah, I can see how it could have bugged you.
Yeah. So to reiterate my beginning statement, pranks. I hate it. Because I like it, but I also hate the ending so much that I still don't recommend it.
Oh, that's fair. Gamer?
Well, for me, I still liked it. It was a pretty smooth read. For me, I didn't notice many grammar issues, even though I really should have. I saw some at the start, and then I guess I kind of just got into it, and I read over most of them, unfortunately. Well, I guess fortunately, but yeah, and I like the twist that happened, as I mentioned before. Even though the story isn't exactly long, and we don't get a ton of time with these characters, I did find myself liking the characters and wanting them to get out of there. Like, I've read longer stories where I've cared much less about the characters that have way more screen time and background info too. So, and yet I care more about these ones. So, in that regard, well done here. The idea that suicide spots aren't just for quote unquote mundane suicides is also really haunting too. I like that concept.
Yeah, I think as long as it's particularly like said like this, the suicides aren't just because of this. Like
no
people going because then that's being like really kind of like disrespectful.
Yeah.
but I do like when it's like gives the possibility that some of these deaths are not like, I hate to say it, mundane suicides.
Yes.
They are they're also these weird like time displacement things or this weird like other situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's creepy spin.
Yeah.
And while I do agree with you, Mikey, about how the end is like, do you get it? Do you get it? Like, I'm with you there, but I still liked the story enough that I'll personally still recommend it. Although I see you.
yeah, I think yeah. We see you. We just don't agree with you.
Yes.
But that's the point of the show. So, okay. So, that's it then?
Yep.
Okay. Then I guess, that'll be 2 recommendations and 1 non-recommendation for pranks. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter. Mikey's at the E Stands for Evil. The Gamer and Yell is at the Gamer and Yell, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky at Review Cultist, so you can send messages there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to help support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void, the darkness of the eternal bridge of a time loop. And if you didn't write these stories and post them on Reddit, NoSleep, or creepypasta.wiki, or any other site online for people to enjoy and get spooked by, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for Evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.